Christ on all, and welcome to the latest episode of the Fearless and Devotion podcast here with Andrew Gilpin, Liam Randall, Tim Edwards, and myself, Andrew Pollard. We've got a lot to get into. We have a newsletter that you should go and subscribe to, which is full of excellent content. There's also Fearless and Devotion, the London night before Charlton. How are we doing with that, Andy? Is that going all right so far?
I think so. I mean, there's quite a few tickets sold. We'd like some more. Thank you to John Hayes and Mark Trego from across the pond who bought some tickets and then emailed them to me and said, right, whoever wants these, give them out. What a lovely gesture. They just said, look, it's a good charity event. So please, we're happy to support it. It's the 25th before the Charlton match. We've got Glenn Little and Danny Wright confirmed. I think we're working on having our next guest on there as well. So that would be adds to the night quite a bit. And there's some other big names we're trying to get over. So yeah, it's going to be a good night. It's just like treat it as Fearless in Devotion on tour. Look, if you're thinking about coming down to Charlton, come down a night early. If you're down here and you've not, even if you're a Wrexham fan who's not been to a game before, come to that. It's a good little introductory. Everyone's be quite nice. Barry Jones will be there, buying everyone beer. He told me that he would buy everyone a beer when they walk through. So,
is that the only reason you're doing the event? Is it just Gilpo's going to get pissed for free?
Well, I'm not going to get pissed on a beer, am I? Am I?
I don't know, mate. I don't know what the tolerance is like these days.
I mean, I might do.
You're hoping to.
But it's going to be a good night. Look, it's. I think Reese is going to come as well, so it's nice to have him there, and it's just great that you and Liam aren't there. So it's a win-win all around.
I'm not allowed.
Tim's in limbo.
Why would you book a guest who's got a restraining order against me? It's just it's not on.
I thought he had a restraining order against you. Didn't you venture to that house one night? I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's not good either way. We're not allowed within. I forget how many miles it is. I probably better check.
Yeah, there's a new Liam back in the day in the streets. There was Stutlin Roma, lurking outside. I've heard some stories about that house, which I will quickly move on from. We do have a guest coming up who's joining us in probably about 10, 15 minutes or so. I reckon we leave it as a surprise. When they join, they join. Yeah, you'll see who it is in about 10 minutes.
It's not that much of a surprise. He's been on here about fucking 10 times, but all right.
All right. You're supposed to play it up.
Stop killing the mystique.
Yeah, I mean, who is it? Could it be Ryan Reynolds? I don't know.
It could be. Yeah, got some sizzle, all sizzle, no steak. You want the opposite. Right, also a quick shout out to our sponsors as well, the Fat Ball Groups, the Fat Ball Mold, Wrexham, the Rice Square, the Croys Howell, the Buck, in Bangor, Hill Street, Effie's and Carnivore. Hopefully that was quick enough for you, Andy. All right, let's get into, I guess, because we've had that weird weekend of no football for Wrexham.
What did we do? What did you do? What
did I do? I want to watch.
Sounds like you've murdered a hooker, but you can't say that. So you're trying now to scramble to get some sort of excuse for what you did do.
Kev Mathias is my alibi. I was in rocking chair watching Cast yesterday. People saw me.
Cast were there.
Yeah, Cast were there. It was really good. Oh. It was a really good night. Yeah, really good night. Shout out to Kev and the rocking chair. Yeah, really good gig. But let's talk Wrexham chatter, as in Wrexham football chatter, and because it's been such a quiet weekend for us, obviously international weekend. Probably the biggest story to come out since we did the last episode was Ryan Barnett. Now, obviously, there was a lot of talk about Barney in the last episode. Since then, Rich Fay over at Rob Ryan Red, boo, lovely fella, lovely fella, Rich, revealed on Friday that Barney, because there was questions that his contract's up in basically this summer coming, 2025, and it's like, how are we going to get him tied down? What are we going to throw with him? Turns out that the club very quietly, as Rich put here on Twitter, good news, Wrexham fans, I've been told Ryan Barnett had an automatic extension clause in his contract that was triggered towards the end of last season, meaning he's actually tied down until June 2026. A great bit of business by the club that looks better by the week. I agree totally there with Rich's sentiment. Tim,
surprised he didn't announce that.
Yeah, me too as well. You'd imagine that he's properly negotiated. I'd like to think that Barney's had a wage increase because just the standard he's gone from the National League to League Two to now League One and being one of our best players so far this season. Tim, you're unusually quiet there and pensive. It's almost like you had a long weekend overseas. Care to give your thoughts on this Ryan Barnett development?
I want to know if it was Andy that told Rich the news and he just didn't want to take the credit for himself. I reckon that's what's happened there. I reckon
that's exactly what happened. I like to hide my light under Gary Bushell. Yeah.
For the kids who don't know who Gary Bushell is, he is a former punk rocker turned Sun scribe, author. Anyway,
still does shifts to the Daily Star.
There you go. Good for him. Ryan Barnett, yeah, great news. Yeah, I can't really fathom why they've decided not to put it out there. Maybe they were planning to put it out there, and if the Thunder's been sort of slightly stolen, but you know, we needed it. It seems odd considering it was a Wrexham Football Club free weekend. It would have been the perfect opportunity to put something like that out, really. So
maybe they just didn't think it was news. Maybe they just thought, look, it got done during the weekend.
No, but it's,
or maybe the printer on the wing, so they couldn't do the whole gimmick.
It's massive news, isn't it? Because ultimately he's our best player by some distance at the moment. So, you know, to have him tied down is a massive plus. And it just shows that all the players are on the same page and they all want to be here. There's no drama of anybody going anywhere else anytime soon. So long may it continue. He thoroughly deserves that deal. So yeah, very happy indeed.
Yeah, Liam, with you, would you be, if you're the club, obviously we've triggered that 1 year extension, so he's tied down until the end of the 25-26 season. Would you be already looking at like, yeah, we need to negotiate another new contract for him to keep him beyond that, or is that maybe a bit too premature?
Depends what terms he's on. You know, if they've just put him onto a better package and it's quite attractive, then you think, oh no need to act too quickly. But the way he's playing at the moment, if he were to continue that over the continuing weeks and months, then I think you would look at, you'd think, do we need to tie him down longer potentially, because he has been one of our best players. In terms of the announcement of it, I almost just feel like the club are playing it a bit cool. You know, everyone was going like, God, we're usually really good on contracts. Like, why haven't we tied Barney down? And then they're just like, oh, what do you mean? We have, just playing it a bit casual for once.
Yeah. Andy, just on this topic before we move on to a few other bits and bobs before our mystery guest joins us. Do you think, I don't want to get put the cart before the horse, as they say, but with Barney, if he maintains this form for the rest of the season and we didn't get, say, playoffs, that's going to be tough to keep hold of, you think then? Clubs sniffing around in the summer.
We've said that about a lot of players. We said that about Jordan Davis, and if we don't go up, where does Jordan go? Things change, right? Things change in football, and your star player for the last couple of weeks may struggle for a little bit, and someone else comes into the fore. So I can't really think that after a couple of really good games, all of a sudden we're struggling to keep hold of Ryan Barnett. I just think he's had a really good few weeks. We've all enjoyed it. It's great for him to perform at that level, but I think it's a little bit too early to sort of say, can we keep hold of him? I mean, because at the end of the day, like a lot of us were saying, is he even League One standard before the ball was kicked? Well, I think we've answered that. Yeah, he is, especially at home. At home, and I said this last week, Ryan Barnett's a different player at home than he is away. And if you can bring both of those strands together and we actually kick on as an away team, then he's a going concern for clubs higher up the pyramid.
Can we just timestamp that? Because I'm sure you just called him Brian Barnett.
I'm sure I didn't. I definitely said Ryan.
Sounded a bit like Brian.
I'll be honest, I had the home and away theme in my head. I'm not even lying there when you talk about home and away. I was trying to work out, was it home and away I had, or was it neighbours, and I got it wrong. It was home and away, just in case anybody was interested in that. Right, before our special guest joins us, obviously Barney is here for a season and a bit now, 18 months or so. Somebody who has been talked about this week about maybe coming in and was talked about in the summer, Matty James. Now, free agent at the moment, was at Bristol City in the Championship last season. We played 39 games in all competitions for a Championship club. Did 3 seasons there with them. So obviously a proven pedigree. 33 years old, came through at Man United, obviously was at Leicester. I believe he may even have won the league technically with him in the Premier League. This was somebody that Phil Parkinson was supposedly looking at in the summer until George Dobson became available, and then it was a pivot. Now, again, he's a free agent. Is this something that makes sense? Is this something that you think maybe it's paper chatter? And also questions about how serious the injury is to George Evans if we're looking at options at the moment already.
Who's going to come in on this then? Because the word Matty James is a new one on me, and I'm just sort of looking him up.
Well, I think it speaks. I mean, if it is accurate, it speaks to the fact that George Evans is going to be out for the long haul, because that's, we tend to have two players competing in most positions, and it was Evans Dobson. So you would think if he's coming in, it's to compete for that spot. I often wonder how these players, with that level of experience, how they end up unattached. I know it happens, but it just seems to happen more often these days. But it's an interesting one. I was looking on a few sort of training pictures, see if I could get a sneaky peek, but I couldn't spot him anywhere.
Have you not spoke to the snout?
Who, Wonder Boy?
Well, yeah, I didn't want to go what your source is. It's been a few weeks since we mentioned him.
Yeah, well, he's a very mysterious character. I think he's spending his time on the Algarve at the minute, so we're in and out of contact.
The Algarve. Okay, fair enough. So he's out of the loop with transfer details.
Yeah.
Tim, for you, would this be on a free transfer? As I mentioned, plenty of experience at a far higher level. Would this be, if the stars align and the deal's right, kind of a no-brainer? If George Evans is a very serious injury.
I guess so. Again, with Andy, this is the first time hearing of this, so I know nothing about it. I'm looking at him now. He looks like a cross between John O'Shea and Sam Ricketts. So
the way this will translate on audio, but the way it looked then on video, Tim, was like, I'm looking at him now. It's like you were looking on your floor, and he's just this very tiny person who's a cross between John O'Shea and Sam Ricketts. Like he's under your desk or something, under your table. Like, oh, hello, boy, how are you?
yeah. Get back to what you're doing. Shocking. No, I'm not sure. He's 33. I mean, what's happening with Josh Adam? Isn't it the same sort of situation? I mean, I don't know. Look, clearly he's still got enough pedigree to be knocking out the games that he did for Bristol City. So he's got to have something about him for sure. I think I've just been swayed by the fact that we started to reduce the overall average age of our squad, and then we're kind of like bumping that up again. So it depends how much faith he has in his kind of preferred midfield three, if you like. And if injuries do bite, which it tends to happen over Christmas and New Year, then maybe he doesn't want to be seen to be, flapping around for something last ditch in the January transfer window. So with that in mind, it probably does make some sort of sense with the experience and the fact that he can hit the ground running, he's match fit.
Can he though? Because he's if he's not had a club since last summer. It's now October. It's going to take him a bit of time to get match fitness. I mean, Tim, you watched the game on Tuesday. What about Harry Ashfield? Is he actually an option if we do need to go somewhere? And wouldn't you prefer to play one of our youngsters rather than bring in a free agent?
Yeah, I would. Just because we've seen it before. It just depends on how quickly Harry Ashfield can progress and adjust to life in League One. We've seen how good Max has been, but he's had to adjust and adapt and come back physically stronger. So, is it a big ask to ask Harry Ashfield to be doing the business against League One sides game in, game out? Probably. So, with him being a young age, the spotlight is very much on us. If he makes one wrong pass or doesn't have a great game, all of a sudden people will be saying, well, why didn't you go out and get somebody with a bit more experience? So I can see why he's kind of covering his arse a bit. But yeah, I'm with you. It would be good to see Harry Ashfield push on, because I thought he had a decent game. He's not afraid. What was that?
My phone fell off its phone.
Your phone fell off its phone. Oh my word! It's like Owen Hart kicking Bret Hart's leg out of his leg.
That was Matty James in my kitchen dropping all the pots. That's what happened.
It was. Yeah, he's turning around going, "What you mean? I can't sign for you?"
Well, back to it, Matty. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, Harry Ashfield, I thought he had a good game. I just think he's quite bold in his passing selection. He's not afraid to go short, go long. I like him, and I would prefer to see that happen. But let's face it, Parker usually gets his signings 9 times out of 10 right. So, I'll back him.
All I'm going to say is experience head, midfield, Scott Green. But what I see,
I'll go back to Scott Green, mate. He's about 52. He's probably more than that.
To be fair, some of those years in the National League, he would still be getting in that side, even if he was like 47 at that point in time. I see our guest has joined us. Coming down, the price is right. If he's going to pop in, he's there. He's lingering.
Hello.
Oh, there we go. A
Does it
surprise
work?
guest. Yo,
Does
we
it
haven't told
work?
anybody who it's going to be. It was a big Andy Morrell. I feel like I'm going to do like a celebrity talk show introduction here. Obviously, promotion in 2003 as a player, FA Trophy at Wembley 2013, player manager, 96 goals, 189 starts over 2 seasons. Bit of a pedigree there. I feel like I'm in the My Squint here doing an introduction, Moz. How are you?
Good, really good. Thank you for having me.
Mozza, do you know anything about Matty James?
Well, I'm a Leicester fan, sort of, from as a kid. So he was there for a long time. I'd say he's at the back end of his career now, and bit of experience, loads of experience. Has he been linked? Has he with Wrexham?
Andrew Pollard's just dropped that bomb and just left us with it. So we're
Right,
all
okay.
dealing with it at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, George Evans is injured and going to be a little bit longer term than we probably had hoped. So they may be looking for a body. I think they've got plenty to get through till January. So whether they need another experienced one, an older head, I don't know.
Mars, I thought you'd be championing the old guys. You know, it's the veterans
I'm
have
still
plenty to
available.
offer. Yeah. No, but not a third spell, mate. That's it. You take the piss now. Well, one of the main things we're going to talk about on this episode, which is perfect to have you on, Andy, with the work you've been doing, the punditry work, the comms work, is just having a look at our season so far after 10 games. It's like a nice little snippet there, second in the league. One, I guess, is this kind of beyond expectations for what you thought for this stage of the season in League One? And two, is it realistically, do you think it's sustainable?
Well, first and foremost, I think yes, it's better than I imagined it would be at this stage of the season. I sort of said 10th would be a good season, but actually, from especially the first 5 games, I was really impressed with their organisation. I thought they were miles better organised than they were last year in their mid-block. And I just thought they were miles fitter than they were at this part of the season last year, off the back of a really good pre-season. You know, they'd made mistakes, I think, last year, and they've put those definitely right. I think Phil Parkinson was saying he had 7 more sessions out in the States than he had last year, and which is it's a whole week of football. Do you know what I mean? It's massive. So I thought they were in a better place when they came in, and we've played Wickham, we've played Bolton, we've played these teams that are right up there, and I think only Birmingham were fantastic. I thought, and miles ahead of us with regards to the way that they played. But I haven't seen anything else the way we are playing that frightens me, really. I just think that this season is going to be a grind. It is a graft every game. And as you come up through the leagues, if you're not at it 100% of the time, especially at this, I think we could get away with it with the players we had in the National League. We could get away with it a little bit in League Two, but now we're in League One. You get found out if you're not bang at it, and we've seen that at Orient and Stevenage. I think that if you don't play a half, then you don't come out with a result. I know we got a draw at Orient, but Stevenage was a difficult one, wasn't it? But you've got to be at it 100% of the time to get anything in this league, and it's going to be a long season because there's going to be a lot of games like those two.
Yeah, I think you've got a unique perspective on a certain topic, like being Paul Mullin. I mean, obviously, the season we got promoted in 2003, I think in all competitions it was 39 goals you got. But there are times as a striker before that where you weren't in the team, or if you get a chance, it maybe wasn't coming off. What's Paul Mullin going to be thinking at the moment? Because he's obviously a very frustrated figure. He scored, obviously, in the week against Wolves in the 21s, but in the league, it's not quite clicked. And he got the one start, didn't happen. And then on the other side of that, Jack Marriott is scoring goals prolifically at the moment. Ollie Palmer's that unique role that Moles doesn't really quite fit. What would be the mindset of him at the moment, do you think, with Paul Mullin?
Well, he'll be desperate to get his first League One goal, for Wrexham. And what has happened for me is that Jack Marriott has been absolutely fantastic. Really, really good. And as in fit, work rate, goals. And so I think that has helped Phil Parkinson in that he doesn't have to throw Mullin in like he did last year to get him fit. He can ease him in and he can play little bit parts because Marriott's doing so well. Listen, Mullin will play, I think, probably 25, 30 starts of the season. we've got a long way to go yet, and he will get fitter and fitter, and that goal will come, and his confidence will come. He's not, not confident after the goal he scored on Tuesday night, is he? He's still got an eye for the back of the net. It's just taking a little bit more time. He'll want to play. He'll be desperate to start more games. But I think you've got to be fair to Jack Marriott, and him and Palmer have been great up front. They've worked so hard, and the flip of that is that Fletcher and Mullin coming on, as a 60, 70 minute subs and getting their time, really freshens the team up. So he's got to be patient. I think he'll understand that. He has, I think I've heard on your podcast, he's had minor back surgery. I don't think there's ever such a thing as that. And so I think that the form of Marriott has helped him, for me, because he's able to get himself fully fit, and not chasing it in games and where you might pick up another injury. And he will come strong, and he'll play plenty of games. And I still believe he'll score goals for Wrexham at this level.
Andy, can I just ask something? Do you think that Marriott and Mullin could play together?
I do, but I don't think they will.
Right, okay.
Off the back of purely, I think Phil Parkinson likes to have a bigger one, a focal point of your attack for one. But more importantly, I think both boxes from set pieces, I can't tell you the stats off Palmer heading the ball out of his own box and heading it first contact in the opposition's box. I think he's so important at that part of his game that I don't think he'll take a big and out of both boxes to put those two together, if that makes sense. I'm sure they could play together. I think they've both got very intelligent footballing brains, but I just don't think Parkinson will do it off the back of wanting a big and in both boxes, if you like, old school.
Makes sense, yeah.
Well, what's it like? Because you, again, in that 2003, there was the 4 strikers there. There was yourself, there was Trundle, there was Lee Jones, and there was Mr. Enigma, Hector Sam. What's that like when you're that competition? Because obviously you managed to pretty much get that nailed on yourself. But even then, there were times when you'd be out the team briefly or for the odd game, and there'd be players coming off the bench. Obviously, Jonah was clinical when he'd get a chance. Hector was Hector. Sometimes it'd be unplayable. Sometimes I'd never seen a football in his life. But what's that like? The camaraderie between the strikers, where obviously you all, in theory, want what's best for the team, but then there is that but that's my place there that you're threatening to take.
Yeah, previous seasons to that one, I was 6th, 7th choice. Yeah. And I'm looking, and I am miles away from this first team here. I need an epidemic in the camp to get near this squad. But yeah, when you have 4, you're all involved, you're all getting minutes. So, we were all getting on at times at that time. And so you still feel a part of it. You aren't sat in the stands a lot of the time. You're in and around it, and you're just waiting for that moment to nick or to change a game. So I always saw a subs appearance as going on, being in the manager's eye, but also, can I change this game? Because I'm obviously being put on for a reason. Can I change this game? And we've had numerous times where Hector came on and changed it off the back of just a little bit of skill. Lee Jones coming on, nicking a goal, and they were so vital that their attitudes were spot on for them to come on and being able to prove that they can do it. So really good camaraderie. I'm sure there is between the 4. I'm sure that they're all learning off each other. Because that was one thing. I was always looking at Lee Jones, and he'd played, Liverpool, and that I'm looking to see if there's anything in his game that I can learn. You've got Stephen Fletcher at the club at the moment, who are just a fantastic footballer. Okay, he's a bit older, but his touch, his technique, his runs. If you watch them closely as a striker, they're just amazing to watch, his movement. And so they should be learning, looking off each other, and improving each other's games.
Yeah, with that 3-5-2 we played under Dennis Smith, obviously that's the same similar formation that Parky goes with. How much would you love to play with, obviously, James McLean, but in particular Brian Barnett? Because I know we had a chat. God, I think it was towards the end of the National League season when we got promoted, and it was like, in terms of style, there's a little bit of similarity between Barney and Carlos. I mean, Carlos is that there are levels, but how much would you enjoy playing with something like that? And out and out winger, I would say Barnett crosses more than Carlos ever did, but then Carlos gets a lot more goals than Barney, so it swings and roundabouts.
Yeah. Well, Carlos would chop his man up right about 4 or 5 times before he'd thought about putting a cross in. So we'd made 12 runs already in the box, waiting for him to put it in.
You were knackered.
I think that. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
That's why you always look
I would
knackered. It was
say
Carlos.
it was his fault. It was his fault. Yeah. No, I think Barney is he's on one of those rich vein of forms at the moment, and he's a player that I think in the formation we play is just as a striker you'd just be lapping it up, because when it's on that side, more than likely, 9 times out of 10 he's putting a ball into the box when he gets half a yard or goes past his man, and he doesn't even have to beat him. Some of the time he just puts it in that area for you to go and attack. And that's coming. He's not really going to chop back many times. He is looking to put that ball in. And I think Phil Parkinson spoke about both ones putting it in the box. And that's where most of their creativity comes from, wide. And you'd just be making runs off the back of him getting the ball. Do you know what I mean? And it's just a dream for strikers. How many times has Ollie Palmer headed it at the back post, and either knocked it back down or scored direct from it. I think, Barney's been player of the season so far. He's really come up, really stepped up. He has pace. He had pace in the National League, and he's just taken it on, and his confidence is growing and growing. And that game on Saturday was a joke, wasn't it? He was just, one of the best games he's ever played. He said on the when he came and interviewed on Matchday Live, and I'm not surprised, because everything came off, and he just, the guy must have been delighted to get took off at half time, because he sat there in the changing room going, "Thank you, Phil Parkinson. You've just saved my career."
Yeah, and even it did remind me of Carlos, the assist for the first goal, not in terms of the actual play, but in terms of the reaction. He just turns around to the Morell stand with "Yeah, I'm really good, aren't I?" And it reminded me there was a Carlos goal. I can't remember where it was. I mean, it was at home. I can't remember who it was against, and it was in the Cop end, and he did a Carlos thing, beat a couple of players, few chops, drills it in, and he just stands on the barricade in front of the Cop with his arms up like he's Jesus. And there was a glimpse of that with that first Barney assist of yeah, you're the bollocks, and you are.
Yeah, well, that game on Saturday, his first cross went actually out the back and went over the back post and past all the players, and we were like, that doesn't happen very often, and then the next one is bang on the money, and then from then on in, he was absolutely outstanding.
Andy, can I sort of move you through the rest of the team now? Obviously, Owen Connell was really good in the centre. He's been moved out to the right. Dan Scar's come in with Max being injured. Do you think that's long term? Do you think he would look to play Scar and O'Connell, or do you think there's a little bit of a lack of pace there? And would you look to how well Lewis Brent played on Tuesday, and maybe think while Max is recuperating, you may do a little switch there?
It's great question, because what a plethora of talent. This is exactly why Phil Parkinson has gone out and got the 6 centre halves that he's got in a line, because he knows that if Max, who has been outstanding again back in the last season and this season, I think he's been exceptional for a young kid. If he gets injured, then we can just shuffle our pack a little bit, and we maybe drop in somebody that's even better in that position, or more experienced in that position, and move Owen O'Connell, who's been amazing in the middle, I think, really come on. Yeah. And even Ben Tozer, I think, said that you can't complain when somebody moves and plays better than you in that position. But that's why you've got 6, is because these injuries happen, and these longer term injuries happen. Dan Scar will have been itching to play right from the start, and then when he comes and doesn't, it'll be like, hang on, I've got to work very hard to get in this team because there's good players here. And so when you go in, your mindset is, I can't get out. I've got to stay in. I can't be moved out of this team. So I think Dan Scar is probably the middle one. Yes. Whether you move the rest of the 6, and I don't know. But Brunt's in one of those situations where whenever you play, you have to demonstrate that you are capable of going straight into the team. He had a really tough opening, didn't he, at Sheffield United, which was a brutal game for most of the team, really, because it was a difficult night. But I thought he came on Saturday, was great, really looked really athletic, jumping up, heading it. I thought he looked really good there, and in possession of the ball, really calm. And then on Tuesday, that just proved it, because he went in and was great on Tuesday night as well. So I think he is in the same situation now as Scar. He's seen an opportunity with Max out. I'm on the bench. I've got to do everything I can now to be ready. When I get that opportunity to go in, I'm in, and I'm not coming out. And he certainly looked like that.
Yeah, and just looking at the other side, obviously James McLean's had a really good match against. Sorry, I've forgotten who it was. Who was Northampton? But do you feel a little sorry for Ravan? Just because when he's come in, he's looked really good, isn't he? Bolting away. I'm especially thinking because his pace just came into it just really sort of added to what we needed at that time, because he was making so many runs back and making so many last ditch challenges just because he could. And since then, he's not really had a start in the league, is he?
Yeah, but again, he's getting game time because he's coming on in most games, and he's still affecting things around the squad, so he'll still feel part of it. And again, he is one that will just be waiting for his opportunity to go in. He has had a couple of starts. He actually went in for Barney, didn't he? They left Barney out the second game, and then Barnett sort of went, nah, that doesn't happen to me from there on in. I'm not having that again because I can do both ends. But yeah, I think with Revan, he is the longer term. He's got the longer contract. He is the future on that left-hand side for Wrexham. It's just so happened that he's up against one of the fittest, oldest footballers out there, and he's played. I've been surprised with McLean this year. To be fair, I think he's been really good, like proper up and down. He's really fit, and his quality. Obviously, we know that's undoubted, but he's been fantastic both ends. I thought he might get. There's been instances where he has been in 1v1 situations defensively, but he's stood up to the task and looks even better this year than he did maybe last year. So there will be an opportunity that Revan will get a run of games, I'm sure, at some point when something happens to either of them. But he's a great one to have on the bench, isn't he? Because he play both sides. So he is just one substitute for both sides. It's a good thing for Phil Parkinson to have.
Andy, do you think it's good for McLean as well, the fact that you've got Barnett playing like he is? Because what I really liked about him last weekend was the fact that there was one or two times where I thought Barnett was going to overhit the ball, and then all of a sudden, here's James McLean, who's just really tucked in because he knows Barnett's going to put that cross in there. Yeah,
I think that the system that Wrexham played, the 3-5-2, it is so important that your wing backs are high and wide, and they are in the box when the opposite one's got it. And obviously Barnett's not scored many yet this year or two, but McLean has got to make that box because he adds the next one in. So if you've got Palmer and Marriott in there, you should have Lee hitting the box, and you can get McLean in there as well. Then you've got four bodies that could potentially score from the brilliant crosses that Barnett's putting in. And I think he knows that now, McLean, and off the back of seeing Barnett either the start of this season or even last year, just saying, he's got license to do that. And I also, off the back of that, Dobson's been huge in that he has been able to sit right in front of those back three and then nullify anything, which allows those two wing backs to then do their jobs and get in the box.
Yeah, definitely. We've been quite fortunate in a way. I don't know how well known it is, the story of how Dobson came to Wrexham is, but I think it's publicly out there now that was essentially, he had a deal elsewhere, but, for family purposes wanted to stay. And then he just texts Phil Parkinson, says, any room for me? And then within 24, 48 hours, it's done. So it's been a huge, but, when you, as a manager, do things just sometimes fall into your laps like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's just one of those, it was meant to be sort of moments for Phil Parkinson. I'm sure he would have had a word about him going out when he was going out to Hungary, that would he want to stay? And maybe it was too late. He'd already agreed to go there. But things change, and some things are aligned, aren't they? Stars are aligned, and he's come in. And to be fair to the lads that got us out of the League Two last year, they're the ones that have been in the shirts for the first 10 games, the majority of them. They've been given the responsibility of, well, you got us out of the league last year, and it's only Dobson really that's been the one difference to last season. And fair play to those lads, because everyone thought, oh, League Two, yeah, we're a good team, but are we League One? They've all stepped up. They've all looked fitter, and they all look more organised, and they're keeping the new boys out. So we've still got a really good second string to look forward to seeing in our first team regularly when they're up to proper full match speed.
Yeah, I think with Dobson, he reminds me of a slightly more progressive Jim Whitley in a way of just covers a lot of ground, very smooth, very technically sound. Like I said, it's just maybe a bit more slightly advanced than Jim. And again, I think Jim Whitley, such an underrated player for Wrexham over the years. Just the work he did. You'd get the headlines, Carlos, Fergie, whatever, Truns, and then Jim Whitley's that kind of really important cog that just is a busy bastard and is really technically sound.
Yeah, definitely. And, Keatsy even reminds me a bit of Keatsy
Yeah.
in there as well. That same figure that he just reads the game so well, just knows where to be on a football pitch. When the ball's on this side, he's normally the one that's picking up those second balls. The one game that he probably struggled was when they played a box midfield. Crawley played a box midfield, and he had 2 players on him picking up second balls. And he obviously they've planned that around him being so good. But I just think he just breaks so much up. He creates so much for us. His passing is just really simple, but really crisp and really quick. So doesn't very often have more than 2-3 touches, and he moves the ball on swiftly, which enables then wing backs to go, and he keeps the ball for us. So I think he's been a really good pivotal one to drop in the middle of our team that has certainly made a big difference to us.
How is it for you to look at this? Sorry, just as a former player and a former manager, that we're second in League One after 10 games, and yet now and again there's still some mild grumbles. That must be like just blow your mind a bit.
Yeah, it's mad that the 3-4 years, whatever it is that Wrexham have been on, has been insane. Really, there's nothing other to say about it. I think that the roller coaster that everybody's been on, and the degree of development that the club's gone through. But you really don't know in football what momentum and a good feeling about a club can do, and that's what Wrexham's got at the moment. They are really on the crest of the wave. They're winning a lot of football matches. That becomes habit, and then we are just waiting for. We will have more blips, like a Stevenage. But the really good teams out there, and I was looking back to the Liverpool days when they were amazing. They had every now and again they'd have a result that they got beat 4-0 away somewhere, or they'd have a result. But Sammy Lee, I think I read what said that they were brilliant at just going, nah, that's gone, on to the next one, and we carry on doing what the plan is. Don't change anything. It was just one of those days, and they were really quick to do that and move on, and then win the next game. And that's what I think Parky was on about on Northampton game, was the reset. He spoke about a reset and stuff. That's exactly what he meant. Just let's do what we do. We're very good at it. Teams can't live with us, especially at home. Let's go back to that. Let's see what got us results. That was us being fit and running around. Let's just go back to that. And that showed when we beat Northampton comfortably.
Can I just go back to Dobson? Do you think he runs weird? And is that actually a problem? I don't know. It's not a problem. He's a great footballer, but do you know what I mean? He's there's a certain gait to him, isn't there? I mean,
he's played 200 games in League One. Is that? I don't care how he runs.
Okay, fair enough.
No, he keeps the ball. When he passes it, it goes straight. So that's not a problem. And he runs, and he's normally there first before the majority of other people. So I'd take that ahead of the way he looks.
Yeah, Andy Gilbert trying to fabricate problems, cause problems, stir the pot. Yeah,
that's right.
It's just so many people, like when you sort of like people just standing around you going, he's got a weird run, hasn't he? But I've just wanted someone like an ex-professional to say it doesn't matter. And Andy Morrell has just said it doesn't matter.
Oh, I think this is going to take a question of Andy. Who was the weirdest runner you played with or trained with?
Well, I was just, as he was talking, I was just thinking that I can't think of anybody that I would pull up and say, "What are you doing? Why are you running like that?
Why are you running in a circle?"
Yeah.
I've seen you play 5-a-side, Andy, and you ran quite close to the wall. I was always worried for your well-being.
I like to hug the touchline, Liam,
or the wall hugger Gilpin. Yeah.
And also, if you run near the wall, people don't tend to pass to you, and I quite like to disappear, to be honest.
And here you are digging out George Dobson. Okay, I see.
One other thing about midfield before we sort of move on to the starting 11 is, do you think Elliot Lee's sort of role has changed a little this year? I think he's not the sort of box-breaking midfielder he has been over the past sort of seasons. Maybe he's a little bit more contained, but that still doesn't take away from the fact that guy runs every inch of grass, doesn't he? I mean, he's a worker. He's always been a worker. That's been a little bit overshadowed by the goals and the assists. So, you know, he's still contributed to in that aspect this season, but maybe he's been a little bit more contained and maybe a little bit more regimented in the system.
Possibly in the system, because they do look a lot more organised. Possibly the level, you know, that going up a level is difficult to find some more space to be as creative as he has been. But I think his role changed when he first came in. I think, you know, he was coming in as a 10 behind a striker or just off a striker maybe. But his role changed to a 3 in midfield, where he's got to do the dog work as well with the other 2 in the team. And yes, you normally have a balance when, you know, James Jones and Andy Cannon plays with him. They can maybe just work a little bit harder for him to release him and be that more creative one. But I think his work rate has gone up as we've gone up through the divisions as well. And he's certainly digging in for the team for his position. And then he's sort of adding to that as well with the odd goal and the odd assist. But I think his last couple of games have been good. I think the rest at Stevenage, even though it was a half or 60 minutes, I think that did him well, because sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees. You know, when you're in it and you're trying to do everything just to freshen up of the eyes, a freshen up of the body. Even if it's half an hour, it has been really good for him, I think, and nobody likes being left out. So I think that was good man management by Phil Parkinson, and he looked back on it, didn't he, at the Northampton game.
Andy, I just want to bring this back to you a little bit away from the current squad. Doing a great job with Matchday Live. You seem to be enjoying it. Just wanted to get your thoughts, really, because I imagine you picked Rob McCaffrey's brains, did you, from previous life gone by?
Previous life gone by, yeah, pretty much. Yes. Well, I was obviously doing the radio co-commentary for BBC Radio Wales. They were fantastic with me for the past 2 or 3 seasons, and I was doing probably 2 games a month. And the club came to me in the summer and asked me if I would be interested in doing the iFollow with Mark. And it would be every game, home and away. And I just thought that was too good an opportunity to turn down. Really, I really enjoy the co-coms. I really enjoy talking about football. I really enjoy trying to explain something that somebody might not have seen in the game, or what's actually going on, whether it's radio or you can watch it on the iFollow. So I thought that was too good an opportunity to turn down. And then off the back of that, the Matchday Live thing was a little grower at the start of the season. They said they were going to do the Fleetwood game and the Wickham game as pilots and see how it went, with no advertising for or marketing of it, and just see how it went. And we got some really good, reviews and feedback from it. Chris obviously runs the thing, and yeah, we've had issues. There's been a fair few issues, haven't there, with iFollow and all that. And unfortunately, at some point, it's not quite in our hands to fix, because it's a technical thing. We can't do anything about that. We seem to be coming through loud and clear, and it's just something that's a bit out of our hands. But I think it looks like it's getting ironed out and getting sorted now. But the Matchday Live thing, yeah, half an hour before half time, and like a YouTube wraparound really of the games for people that don't go. And I'm really enjoying that, because we get to see Parky first and foremost out of anybody. So he comes on and does his interview after the game. We get a little snippet with him before the game, and we get a player as well after it. And you are right on the touchline. You're right around the players. You're right in the middle of the atmosphere. I couldn't get better seats. Do you know what I mean? If I applied for them, well, you can't get a seat, can you? So that would be useless. But yeah, I'm right in it, and I'm really enjoying that. And I'm getting to meet the players and understand them a little bit more every now and again. So I'm loving it. Really, really enjoying it, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity that the club have given me.
Do you take any of your cues from any of the commentators that you're fans of, or you think, oh, mate, could I put a bit of that, or do you try and just be true to yourself, or do you?
Yeah, I just try and explain it from my point of view, what I would be seeing if I was on the touchline, whether I was a player. Those 2 experiences that I've had, can I help with what they're thinking at that time and why they've done something potentially? I think Mia's been a breath of fresh air to the co-com. She's to say that she's had very little experience of doing it. She doesn't say a great deal, because I'm probably yapping on and Mark's talking about whatever, but whenever she does stick in and say, it's really well thought, really well executed with what she's saying, and really knowledgeable of what she's seen. She's obviously watched a lot of football growing up. She's obviously critiqued parent quite a lot in her previous career. So, and she's doing it now, I think, part of a degree. So it's really good experience for her, and she's been brilliant to just speak to and not mentor, but just listen to her ideas of the way that she does it as well.
If you could commentate on any of your own goals, what would it be, and what would you say about it?
Oh, goodness me. That's a great question, that. I would have loved to have been watching from the stands the diving header that I scored against Rushden and Diamonds, because just from back to front, 2 or 3 passes, Carlos nicked the ball off the guy, hits a 70-yarder to Truns. Truns gets a touch, just looks up, puts it in an area, really, and I've managed to get across, I think it was Barry Hunter, I think it was, and I threw myself at it, didn't think I was going to score it, but ended up rolling over and seeing it in the bottom corner actually come off my head. So just seeing that, I thought it was a great team goal to start with, but to try and talk people through how those sorts of things happened, what was going through my mind when I was going into the box, because I see Truns and I know exactly what he's going to do. I know he's going to try and put it in that area. So I try and take Barry Hunter away a little bit. I'll make a movement behind the penalty spot out of his eye line, so he takes a step back to then go across the front of him, and the timing just works out and head it in. And that's what I hope I bring to the co-coms if I can.
So one word to describe that goal, if you saw it then now. Astonishing.
Yeah, just beautiful. Just beautiful.
I love it whenever you have strikers talking about their goals. There's always I think it was this. I think it was that defender. They know every single detail. Let's remember, there was a time speaking to Trundle, and he was talking about a certain goal. He's like, well, I think I got it off such and such, and I think I went past so and so and so and so, and then I think I put it just about in the top left corner. It's like, mate, you know all of that. He's like, yeah, I did. I know all of that off by heart.
Well, Barry Hunter, that goal, right? He was ex-Wrexham, right? He played for Wrexham.
Yeah.
Did he? Yeah. And
really
he was proper old school. So he was stand on your toes at a corner, pinch you at a corner. That was proper old school. Even when I was playing that was old school. And I just remember him just doing my nutting, like. And so when I scored and got across the front of him, it was like, have that, you can pinch all you like. Do you know what I mean?
He didn't try and do the Vinnie Jones and Gazza on you, did he? No.
Not quite.
No.
Not quite that.
that was his line. That was his limit, but he was right up to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't go there.
Right. Andy, I'd like to do a little segment. Now, this is something that we do for the newsletter, and it's called Wrexham Fan of the Week. Now, I wouldn't really class you as a Wrexham Fan of the Week just because you're a lot more than that. But obviously, you've seen us a lot through the last 20 years. You were playing for us for a lot of it. So I just want to ask you these sort of questions and what you sort of think about the answers. So the first one is, what's the worst moment being... Well, now it says being a Wrexham fan, but I'm going to say being involved in Wrexham. Watching us or managing us or playing for us.
Yeah, well, for me, it was the loss at Wembley in the final. It still hurts to this day. It makes me feel sick every time I think about it. Thanks for bringing it up. But even that loss was on a par with, from afar, as a ex-Wrexham player and a Wrexham fan, when they did get relegated out of the Football League and all the troubles that they had. That was just a really horrible feeling to know what the club was going through and how they were going to somehow come out of the end of it. Do you know what I mean? And that for me would be, just the worst. It just made me feel sick watching it, the stuff that was going on, and just fingers crossed that they could come out, and they did. Thankfully, I think those lows have made the highs even better, haven't they? For this,
Yeah, I know what you mean by that.
I would have a question as well. Would the new owners have taken over? Is that as big a situation that they've taken over than the fans did? Which was more important in the club's history, when the fans took over and got the club, or was it when these new boys have taken over?
I think you have to sort of say that without the fans, there wouldn't be a club. So in that sort of instance, the fans, because it saved them, and no one else was going to save them at that time.
I agree.
Yeah, and the icing on the cake of all that and all the hard work that the fans put in is Ryan and Rob looking and seeing that they were a going concern and taking it from there to there. It was almost like karma in a little bit. a little way. We didn't get much luck as being fans owned, but what we did do is put this club on a very stable foundation that Ryan and Rob have come in and gone, right, that's the club for us. So I don't know what the other guys think, but I would definitely say fans. Anyone going to say Ryan and Rob?
No, I agree 1000% with you there, Andy. Yeah, totally the fans. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been a club around for Rob and Ryan to come and pick up. We'd have been wound up many moons ago, and they probably never would have even heard of Wrexham the town, let alone Wrexham the football club. So yeah, for me, it's 1000% the fans.
Yeah, I feel like the supporters trust don't necessarily get the fanfare, towards the end, talking sort of COVID times when we were quite low down the table, everyone was up against them. But you don't have to agree with every individual decision they made as owners. Like I wouldn't necessarily agree with every single decision Rob and Ryan ever make, because that's just how football is. But when you think how perilous the situation we were in, we nearly got kicked out of the Conference National League, whatever you want to call it. We came that close to to being booted out. So for the supporters trust to come in and stabilize it, that was the most important thing they did, and they deserve credit for that, I think.
Definitely. Right, I'm going to move on, and I think Tim might have preempted this one a little bit. I'm going to go best goal seen or brackets scored. Are you still going to go for that one, or is there one that you maybe had in your managerial time, or something you saw from the sidelines that you went, well, basically, fuck me, what a goal?
I was waiting for Brighton to get a mention. I'll be honest.
Yeah. No, they were two lovely moments. Those, but I'd have to say that I remember a Dean Keats chip against. Was it
Luton? Was it?
Maybe, I don't know who it was against, but it was amazing. Little from the edge of the box. He wasn't even far away, and
I'm sure it was Luton.
Luton. It could have been. It could have. Yeah, it could have been actually. Yeah. But the one for me that stands out when I was in charge was Jay Harris against Barrow. I was right behind.
Yeah.
He was a man possessed that day. I don't know what he was doing or what he'd done that day, but he was a man possessed. It was a brilliant evening. It was rainy. It was a nice slick surface. We needed to win, obviously, because we were going quite well. And he was everywhere. He was picking every second ball up and everywhere. And then he just takes this touch and right behind it, and he just smashes it, and it just stayed hit. And it went like an absolute bullet into that far corner. So that would be my goal. The best goal. It got goal of the season, didn't it? And it should get goal of the century because it was ridiculous.
What about the most surreal moment?
Well, the surreal moment around the new owners is obviously a major one that most fans would have, I think. But for me, the most surreal moment was walking out onto a training pitch and stood next to Ian Rush. What's happened there? Because I'm like this lad who's come from road traffic maintenance Newcastle and like playing and just having a go at it, and you were European Cup top scorer and like amazing Liverpool legend, and you're now training with me. What are you doing here, sort of thing?
I want to know what Ian Rush is thinking. Like, who's this fella? Who's this Andy Morrell? What's this about?
Yeah, that's just that was really odd, and just it was a great year. It wasn't particularly great for him, but it was particularly good for me because I just watched what a proper footballer and somebody who'd been there, done it, did training, how he lived his life, how he went about training. He wasn't a brilliant trainer, but the way that he shot, how he scored goals, I was like a sponge. I just couldn't absorb enough of him, really.
Wasn't there a load of stuff? Gilpin might be responsible for this. Of the your club needs you Andy Morrell face masks for the playoffs.
I did do that. That was me. Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. We put you on Lord Kitchener. Remember that?
That's right. I remember. Yeah, terrible.
I'm sure I okayed it.
I might be hanging in my mum's toilet, actually.
Laminated. Right. The next one is, what's the greatest moment being involved with Wrexham? Which is a bit like your fearless moment, I suppose, but just say it.
Yeah. It's got to be the walking out of Wembley with me being a manager and obviously picking myself. and walking out and leading out a group to the first time at Wembley, a club, not been there in its history, to be able to walk out and lead a team out and win as well was, you don't get much better memories and moments than that in your career, really, and that's got to be right up there.
Right, the next one is, this is a bit of an in-joke, but what makes a top red top, which is basically what makes a really good Wrexham fan?
Oh, well, I think that they've been amazing the past few years with their away travel, especially. So many people are going to these games and selling out of these games. I know that there's a big furore about it, but it still takes money. It still takes time, people's money, to go and support the club, and they're traveling there. They're thousands, but the noise that they are making at the moment is just quite something. The Bolton game especially, I thought was insane noise. It was brilliant, really good to be around. Great atmosphere for League One, and a good result, I suppose, in the back of it. I think a good Wrexham fan understands football. They all do, but they encourage and they get right behind their team. They know that it's not going to be easy, and they still cheer and chant when things aren't going right. They still support the club when it's not going right. And there's been plenty of times when that's happened. It's very easy to support a team that's winning, but the true ones are the ones that have been there when it's difficult, and they're still going to Braintree, they're still going to Wealdstone, supporting the team and hopefully getting them through to 3 points. And that's for me what a proper football fan, what makes a football fan a top fan, if you like.
Well said.
Leading on to that, sorry, Tim, did you want to come in?
No, I just said here, well said. Cut that up and stick it on the socials because it's spot
on. Right, leading on to that, what was your favourite chant? I mean, what was our Morell chant? I used to remember Morell.
Yeah,
Pink Panther. Yeah.
Dreadful. Yeah, that was awful.
Go on, Tim. Well, what was our major Morell chant?
There's only one Morell. Was that one at one stage?
To be honest, I didn't really have one. I didn't have one.
That's criminal.
I would say, as an aside to that, the Andy Morrell chant was basically a goal celebration. There we are, because there were so many goals in that 2002-2003 season. So I'd go with that to soften the blow.
Well, I invited my uni mates up for a game when I was playing, and they were trying to get some sort of chant going with Morell and a gazelle, but it wasn't. I don't think it was that effective.
I don't feel like
Tim would do.
I don't feel like our chants were that good back then. Because Trundles was just simply people going Trundle.
Yeah, that's right. I think that was most of them. They had
Hector took over the Peter Ward chant, the ole ole at the Sam. Peter Ward.
Yeah.
Jonah didn't have one. Carlos just had the Carlos, singing his name in slightly different ways.
Yeah, Fergie.
Yeah.
Was it Darren Ferguson?
It was a famous one, and I don't know if this is true, but this made the 4-4-2 best chance of the season, and it was "We love you, Fergie, we do. We love you, Fergie,
oh my
we
word.
do. We love you, Fergie, we do. But your dad is still at." I don't know if anyone ever. I can't remember anyone singing that. Tim, do you?
Take credit for it now.
This is from the Book of Okonkwo.
It felt like you were like Harry Potter trapped into the stairs, like whispering a secret code. You're like, that was just a weird, surreal version of a song. And you flummoxed me. It was fucking.
Well, you know what the last word is? It begins with C and ends in T. But we weren't going to sing that.
That was never sung. There was an Andy Morrell one, and I can't remember what theme it went to.
It was Pink Panther, definitely Pink Panther.
There was another that was like Andy Morrell, Andy Morrell. There was that one. That was sung a few times.
Okay.
You'll be saying there was one to the A-Team theme next.
Andy Morrell.
I feel like it's Phoenix Night now all of a sudden.
Let's get it going.
All right, Andy, what was your favourite?
It's got to be Elliot Lee's. I think it's got to be the chant. I love the Elliot Lee one. I think that's
Elliot Lee works to the A-Team chant. I just figured it out now. Go on, Andy.
No, you're
Oh,
right.
Elliot Lee.
Elliot Lee. Yeah. Magnet and steel. Yeah.
Elliot Lee. But, anyway, okay.
It's a good job we didn't put a Patreon account on this, isn't it? But feel free to donate
people
us a
would be
coffee.
desperate for their money back. Right, the two sort of more the ones you have to think about towards the end. So, it's two lists. We've got what would be your all-time Wrexham 11, and you can pick yourself.
I'm not in it. Nowhere near it.
He didn't pick himself enough when
Come
he was
on,
manager.
Yeah. That's hard. That I think because players that you didn't play with, you can't really gauge how good they were. Do you know what I mean? But
Is there some players who have to be in it?
Hey,
is there some players who have to be in it?
Yeah, I think Fergie's got to be in it. I think he was just a superb player to be around, to be a leader without having the captaincy. His left foot was a wand, and he never shirked it. Never hid in any game. He was always wanting the ball, regardless of if he had given it away 40 times in the first 10 minutes. He'd go again and keep getting it. So I think he's got to be in it. I think Carlos has got to be in it. I think Joey's got to be in it.
Yeah. So who's the other one?
Joey. I think Joey's got to be in it.
Yeah. You're doing 4-4-2 here.
I don't care. I'm just playing. I'm going England. Just playing everyone. I would say the centre halves would probably be Big Bry and Tony Humes. I had a piece of Tony Humes when I was first there, and again, leader, warrior. Going through battle when things were hurting and body wasn't really working, he was still putting himself out there and trying to defend for his life, which he was. Great talker and a really good captain off the pitch as well. So I'd put him in as well.
That's a hard as nails back four, apart from Carlos.
Oh, is Carlos going right back? Is he going right back, Carlos?
Well, we'll see what else Andy's going for.
I'm always waiting to shout for Macca myself. Always Macca, right back. What a player.
Yeah, Mark McGregor, very good. Yeah, very, very, very consistent. Never put a foot wrong. Very rarely put a foot wrong, and always was in the mix as well. He would quite easily get in the team. I think Kev Russell. Again, I only got the back part of it, but he was quality, real little bits of quality when you watched him, and really understood the game as well. And it turns out he has a brilliant coaching career off the back of that as well. Very, very knowledgeable. I would go with Gaz Owen as well. I thought he was good as well, in those times. But then more recently, looking at Jay Harris and Keatsy and those types of people, some real quality that maybe misses out. And then up front, Bluminette, you've a plethora of talent, haven't you, to choose from to go up front. Gary Bennett, Carl Connolly, and I was just looking at, Tommy Bamford, ridiculous. I'd never obviously knew a great deal about him before I came, but his scoring record is just a joke. It's ridiculous. And so it's like, well, he's got to be in it. Hasn't it, just for purely off a goals ratio, he's got to be in it. So very difficult. And then my old mate Trons as well. I know he only had a few seasons at Wrexham, but he was an incredible footballer, a very, very talented boy. And he actually looks after himself better now than he did when he was a player. And,
he is now. He's finally an athlete now these days.
And when we did the TST, with each other, brilliant to catch up over a week. And he was just saying, I just don't know why I didn't. I wish I had the same knowledge as I had now about food and nutrition and the way you look after it. Because if he had that in those days, wow, well, you've got a Prem player head and goal than everyone else.
Right. Final.
Whoa! We missed the goalkeeper. Who's in net?
Yeah,
who's in net?
Who's the keeper?
Well, yeah, I don't really care about goalkeepers. It's
all right.
Should we go Dibs? Let's go Dibs because he's top man as well off the pitch.
Yeah, he is.
You're not putting Jossie in there, Andy.
Well, Maxi would be close, I suppose, because he did very well. Yeah, Jos, that was Don't start.
Where is he? That's all I ever want to know.
Is he in France? Last I heard, I'm sure I heard he's in France, but
he's an agent now. I think he's got does a bit of agency. So I was at Hensford. We were training at Hensford, and we played against like a team of sort of misfits, lads that had fell out the game and were playing, and they're called 4-3-3, I think they are, and they came and had a game against us, and he had one of the players represent one of the players that was playing for them. What are you doing here? Where do you come from? Sort of thing.
I found you at last.
yeah, exactly that. But he was fine. He looked very well and was doing okay. So he's obviously staying in and around the game.
Bloody hell.
An agent, I never would have had that. And I know Dave Bram is an agent, and Jake Spate. I did not know Jocelyn Maebi was an agent.
Yeah,
Dave Bram is an agent.
Yeah, he was. I'm trying to think who it was.
He
signed somebody.
No.
Yeah, he signed some.
Danny Ward. He was Danny Ward's. Yeah, he's big. He's in with one of the big companies, Dave Brammer. And yeah, very, very highly thought. I've been doing it for years. Yeah, so he did the Danny Ward deal to Liverpool.
All right.
Yeah,
well, there was thank him for that then, because that helped us out massively.
Yeah, massively. But there was someone we signed in the last 2 years. I think it was our last season in the National League, and there was a picture. I can't remember who it was now. And there's a picture of the new signing outside the Ramada, and I'm like, is that Dave Brammerwood? And it was his agent. I can't think who it was. It wasn't Tunnicliffe. So I'm pretty sure Tunners was. I think he might be with Jake Spate. I know Callum McFadden was with Jake Spate and somebody else. But Dave Brammer, super agent, taking over the game.
Right. This is my last question on this. It's an Andy Morrell dinner party. You can have 5 Wrexham stars, past or present. Who would you invite to that? Are you going for Bants, or are you going for?
Yeah, Joey has got to be in there. He's got to be there for the laughs and for the stories. He'd be right in there first. Him and Mickey as one. They sort of come as a pair, don't they? Do you know what I mean? They're very, very seldom apart, aren't they? I would probably go Dean Saunders. I think I would have, because he is insanely funny. Brilliant fun, very knowledgeable, never stops talking, but a really good character to have around.
Is he bringing a racing horse with him as well this time?
Yeah, quite possibly. He could bring that. Yeah, he could do anything. He could bring an old pair of shoes, an out of date crate of 24 cans, really old video recorder, something really strange with him. I think I'd invite the owners, the new owners. I've not met them yet, and I'd love to get into them a little bit and have a chat with them over dinner and get their real thoughts on what's happening, where they want to take the club, etc. I think they would be quite interesting to have around. And then a couple of really, I don't know.
You've reached your 5.
Eh?
You've reached your 5.
Well, Rob and Ryan are a pair. Mickey and Joey are a pair. So
there you go. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, Mickey would be like Banzo Kazooie or something. He just lives in.
They're sitting on the lap.
And then Dean Saunders, that's 3. So you got another 2 now, Moz.
I would probably go for somebody like a Tommy Bamford, a really old school, proper legend of Wrexham, and be able to speak to them actually when this football club was back in the day, when it was packed, with 30,000 in there or whatever it was. What was that like? How was this club when it was back in the day, and how it's transformed, and pick their brains about how football was in those days to how it has changed. I think that would be quite an interesting sit around.
Yeah. What maybe Dennis Smith, the old gaffer?
Yeah. And then let's throw Emad in there, because I'd love to know where is Emad.
Liam knows.
Emad,
I know.
You know,
I've been in WhatsApp contact with him. Sort of a watch this space, if you like. I believe he's in Morocco these days. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did he play football for more than the 3 months that he was here?
This is what.
Did he just wash in and wash out and then gone?
This is what I need to do. We need to set a time and a place a time to speak to him, because I've got the contact there. He's a man that, love to nail him down for a chat, because what a mercurial. I think is one word to describe it.
When we do that, Liam, we definitely need to get Mozza in on that.
Yes.
Tim, any final questions? I know we're going to tie this up soon, because at the end of the day, it wasn't supposed to be a long one. It was only supposed to be like a free weekend sort of chat. But I've really enjoyed it. Tim, anything else to weigh in on?
No, whatever else is on the list. You've got the list. Remind me.
Okay. Have we missed anything? Bear with me.
No, I think we're good.
Yep.
All's left to do is let Moz to get on with the rest of his evening. I don't want to keep him too long, and then we can quickly
do
preview the.
Let's do predictions quickly.
Yeah,
and Wales.
So
Who?
What? Wales.
Oh yeah, no, we got plenty of other things to talk about. I just didn't want to keep Andy stuck on the call with us while we talked about Wales and Iceland. Yeah, so I thought we'd maybe let Moz get on with the rest of his evening. But before you go, Andy, score predictions for the weekend against Rotherham.
I think we win. I think we win 2-1. I think we've got a real range of games coming up. Next 4 or 5, I think they're not easy at all. I think we'll have more of a picture of where we will be and how we're going to get on in this next sort of 5 games. I know Charlton away is not easy. Huddersfield at home, I think there's some really tough games in there. So I think you look at after 15 games, we might be looking at it a little bit differently. But hopefully this freshen up this last week. Hopefully they'll kick on in those 5 games.
Agree totally. There might be a chance that you might be joining the Fearless London event possibly for Charlton. But we'll see.
Yes, I'm hoping. I've cancelled my coaching. I just need to now, get there and get back. So
Andy Gilpin, you made this man cancel on some poor kids his coaching just to come and join you for a piss up in London.
It's half term, so they're all on holiday, so don't worry about it.
Right. Right. Should we go around the rest of the predictions, Liam? What do you think?
I'm going to say we squeak a 1-0. Keep it nice and simple.
Tim?
3-1, and Matty James's brother will score for them because he plays for them. Seeing as there was that link earlier on, so I'll go 3-1 to us.
Right. I think is it Clark Harris or Harris Clark?
Johnson Harris.
Clark Harris.
Yes. He's out injured, isn't he? He injured himself during a goal celebration. I heard on Saturday. So if he's out, I think we can do this. I think it's going to be 2-1. Andrew?
Oh, 3-0. No, actually, no. It's away, so I'll go 2-0.
Oh, well, that's very restrained of you.
Always make
okay, well, I hope the Rotherham pod just clip that little bit and then throw it back at us after. Andy, thank you so much for joining us. Pleasure as always. It's really nice to have your take on stuff.
Thanks for having me, chaps.
Hopefully see you soon.
Yes, cool. Thank you.
Top man, Mars.
All the best,
Andy.
Cheers, Andy.
Right. That was what a lad, what a fella. Right, we I know it's gone like an hour so far, so we'll just nail through a few quick points. There is obviously Wrexham women play today as we're recording this. Lost 1-0 away against Barry Town United ladies, I believe is the official term for them. It's only 1 win so far for the season, 6 in the league, 4 losses out of 5. Erin Lovett came on in the 72nd minute, got sent off a minute later, which was a strange old decision for what I've seen. I was working, so I didn't get to see the full game, but I think they massively need to win the next game. It's not for 2 weeks. So it's Cardiff Met at home. Could do a win there.
Yeah, by all accounts, it sounded, from what I could make out, it sounded like they were on top for the majority of the game. I was mostly following on Twitter, but just goal scoring just seems to have evaded them, which for such a long time wasn't really an issue. It's hard to pinpoint, exactly what's gone wrong there, but I think you sort of hope to see, don't you, like a season by season, incremental improvements. No one's expecting us to be smashing sort of Cardiff and Swansea's of the world, but I think just the level of how much it's dropped off is a slight concern, I would say.
Look, I know I've mentioned this, but I do feel that like they go into that Pan Wales League, and the first league, it's the first season, it's all sort of new and fresh, and they're really sort of trying their utmost hardest. I just think the grind this season, they might need to take a step back before they come forward again. And I think this season might be a bit of a grind, but the next season, once they're through that and they can strengthen again, I think that's when they may come on again.
Yeah, it was one of those where after the really tough start with, I mean, in the first 3 games, they had Swansea and Cardiff, and then Aberystwyth Town, which is where they picked up a win last weekend, and then today with Cardiff Met, you're thinking they were the two winnable games where you bounce back and get some momentum. So it is a spoke in the wheel. Is that a phrase? I don't know. It's a just one of those where a bump in the road, and hopefully they get back to it. Anything to add on that, Tim, before we go on to other topics?
Nope.
Okay. Very to the point. FA Cup draw tomorrow, as we record this on Monday. Just a quick one with the FA Cup. Obviously, we could go into favourite FA Cup memories, and I imagine a lot of ours would be the same as one another. But we've gone into the FA Cup in previous years where we're always the underdog for the most part. Even against teams in our own league, we've been positioned as an underdog. Whereas now we're at a point where we've shown with the Coventry game, we've shown with the Sheffield United fixtures that we're a team to be feared. If you're a team above us, say you're a championship team, you don't want to be getting Wrexham. If you're some of the Premier League teams would not be wanting to get Wrexham. Is there anyone particularly you guys are pulling for tomorrow, whether it's for personal reasons or whatever? Someone you'd love to draw?
Is it regionalised this time? I can't remember.
No, I don't think it is. I think you can get anyone in the first round.
Chester only had one job, and those dickheads failed miserably. They lost
3-1
at Scarborough Athletic. And I think Mike Ingham's at Scarborough, so get in there, Mike Ingham, and the Super Reds.
See, even Mike Ingham had a chant back in the day, Mikey Ingham, and you'd always have Jacko doing the big kick, Mikey, and he'd inevitably spoon it out for a throw in.
Yeah, Ingy. So, I'm super excited by the FA Cup. I just love it. I love it. And
the excitement's really coming through, Tim.
No, I do. I'm tired. You know, I'm tired. I've been to Iceland. I've been up since 5 a.m.
Tim's been to Iceland.
Yeah.
And you, Kerry Katona. Right, okay, come on. Let's tie this up then.
Yeah, I'm going to quickly say with the FA Cup, I'd love us to get Horsham.
I want Harrogate because I've not been to their ground, and that was the one I was mostly missing from last season. So get us Harrogate, and I can go there, and we can
see with Horsham. They used to be assassins back in the day. Their nickname is the Lardy Army. And good pal of mine, Jacko, who sits next to me at the ground, is a Horsham fan from back in the day. And they used to post lumps of lard to rival managers and chairmen. So I want the Lardy Army. I want Horsham. They beat Galston 1-0 at the weekend. So yeah, I'm willing that into existence. But yeah, we will move on, Andy. We'll move on quickly to Rotherham. We mentioned it there. We've gone raw predictions. We've done that bit. But are we expecting... I mean, the game against Wolves under 21s, that doesn't really make any difference to you guys for in terms of team selection. You're not expecting anything major, no?
No, he'll keep the same team. I think the only sort of change is, will he change it at the back three? I can't see he will. I think O'Connell deserves his place, even though he's moved across from the centre. Everything else, I think, stays the same. Mullin's got another week under his belt. I expect him to come on a little earlier on Saturday. And if he gets 1 or 2, that might change for the next game. But at the moment, I can't see him changing much at all.
Right. Everybody's willing to dying to get off this call, right? I think Andy spoke for all of us on that one. So a last wrap up, the one that's keeping Tim awake, because we're going to get to it. Wales, you mentioned you've been to Iceland. It wasn't just the supermarket.
Just to sum up, I either want us to get York away or Tamworth at home, because it'll just typical we'll get Tamworth, seeing as Moz has just been on. Or I'd like to go to York again because it's always dead nice. I think there will be very few changes for Rotherham, but I hope we beat him because Steve Evans is a dickhead.
Massive bellend.
Yeah. And even though he described us as the Harlem Globetrotters and something else, something like that, he's just a very unlikable person, really. Simple as that. So I hope we beat them. That'd be great. What was the question? Iceland.
Wales.
Yeah, before we get to that quickly, then in that case, Liam, who do you want in the FA Cup?
I always want Wrexham, but they're not in it still. It's not really.
I think Liam wants the Horsham. He wants Horsham. We're going to.
Yeah, I love Horsham. I love
exactly.
Horsham.
Go on the Lardy Army, right? Tim, Wales. You were there. Very much in recent memory, very much one of the most classic game of two halves I've seen in a long time. First half, very decent for Wales, 2-0 up at half time. Second half, Iceland dominated. Should have done. They should have won the game, I thought. What was the experience out there? Apart from being very, very chilly and having some wings, I believe, as well. Was it?
Yeah, it was just really good, really good. Love it. It's the second time I've been there. Just enjoyed it. Just everything about it, the culture, the people, the place. It's just really cool. Just really nice. But the game was frustrating because we can see what Bellamy's trying to do in terms of implementing his own style of play on the team. And the two goals were great. It's just about picking your pass at the right moment. They're just two really well executed goals. And then you've kind of, and we mentioned it earlier on, like Dave Brammer sorting out Danny Ward. Danny Ward needs to sort himself out really in terms of getting regular game time, because we've had him on the pod. You know, we're very proud of what he's gone on to do, but what is he doing at this very moment in time for the very past few years? He's sitting there on the bench,
Making Leicester fans really angry.
well,
Because of his
and
wage.
and I kind of think, well, nobody can blame him, but by the same token, you know, he made a really good save in that game, but then he's probably culpable for their equaliser. You know, you can't be allowing that to squirm in from
I don't know.
that.
I think that's maybe harsh to play with the equaliser on that one. Just because of the tight space where the lad gets to the byline. He should have been taken out there. Connor Roberts, it's done far too easy for me, I think, on that one.
It just seems daft that, okay, let's put some pressure on him. Who can we bring in? We'll bring in Carl Darlow, who's previously turned down Wales twice. It's not the right message to be sending out. Nothing against Darlow. I just think that's an area of the pitch we've got massive concerns over. And as much as I like Ward, he needs to be playing regularly. It's as simple as that. Any self-respecting footballer would want the same. So it's
there was several years though where Wayne Hennessy wasn't playing regular first team football, and he was still Wales's number one. So there is, unfortunately, there's a bad habit there. I mean, you go back, I think the last time I could think of somebody who's playing regular first team football at a top level was probably Paul Jones, which is going back years in terms of number one. Obviously, Hennessy when he's at Wolves was number one, but the last few years at Palace he wasn't getting a kick, but he was still guaranteed to start for Wales. And I agree with Danny Ward needs to be playing football. I mean, me and my pals have said that for years. But the other side of that is if you're the rumours that the numbers that the Leicester fans throw out there is 40 grand a week. If you're getting paid 40 grand a week to, not to play, obviously you do training. For me as a football.
Let's argue that Danny Ward does not need the money at this point. He probably doesn't. Okay, so I want him to go back out there and prove he's a very good goalkeeper, because we all know it, but he's not getting the opportunity to show people that. You know, it's just drips and drabs. Yeah, great, you scored a load of penalties in the pointless trophy at Wolves the other day. So what? You know, he needs to be showing that on a more regular basis. And I just feel he's kind of selling himself short a bit. But there we are.
It's a fun one with Danny Ward, because we are going to wrap this up and scoot out of here. Last time I spoke to him, it was one of those where it was when Wrexham were in. I think we were just on the cusp of getting out of the National League, and chatting to him, and it was like the obvious question of like, do you think there's a chance you might come back? And his whole logic was like, I reckon trajectory wise, the time will take Wrexham to get up, and when I'm on the wane, maybe when they get into League One will be the time. Obviously, we've got into League One a bit quicker than people thought, and Danny Ward is not getting a sniff at Leicester, and obviously we got.
Also, we don't need a keeper. I think that's
exactly
the key thing.
Yeah.
We bought that area, and we bought well of a young lad. So, yeah, I think our trajectory is all over the place now.
Yeah, I'd agree with that totally.
Can we just chuck in one final bit of housekeeping just to congratulate everybody that was involved in the bidding on the football shirts? Raised over £20,000 for Miners Rescue Project last weekend, last Thursday, I think it was. So just wanted to put that out there, because that's a significant amount of money. I think 1,500 or 1,800 for Elliot Lee or Mullins, that was the highest. So pretty good going that.
And the charity, the event we've got on the 25th, all proceeds to the same cause. So please support us there if you can. Tim, would you be all right to put the link in for the tickets?
Yeah,
great. Right, let's tie this up, lads, because I've got a star bar.
Yeah, right. A quick one as well, just say congratulations to everybody involved in the Terry Fox run this weekend in Wrexham. Of course, go and check out the newsletter as well. Thanks to our sponsors, the Fat Boy Group, the Fat Boy Mold, Wrexham, the White Square, the Croix Howell, the Buck in Bangor, Hill Street, Effie's Carnivore. And that is pretty much us done for another week, another very long episode. Any final thoughts? Or we all just saying?
No one has any more
final thoughts. Right, we're good. I've Andrew Pollard, that's Andy Gilpin, that's been Tim Edwards, that's been Liam Randall, who's going to say something then. Go on, Liam.
I was going to say I love Andy Morrell. That was my final thought.
I want you to marry him then. All right. Okay. All right. Bye, everyone.
See you later.
Brilliant. Catch you later, Bill and Ted.